Welcome to this week's QPR Preview Show ahead of the match with Birmingham. Before that, I have to say my head actually hurts trying to think where do we even begin to summarise the past week. We had the win against Watford on Saturday, of course, which was undoubtedly a fantastic afternoon. There was positivity around the club. And then, boy, have we come flashing that down to earth, losing 6-1 to Blackpool. Good luck, Dave, making any sense of those two matches. Off you go.
Yeah, I don't think I can make much sense of them, but basically everything we did well on Saturday, we did the complete opposite against Blackpool. You couldn't. It summed our season up. It was like we keep saying how good we were in October and how we got this bad now. Well, we've done it in 3 days rather than over 3 months. It was unbelievable. Saturday we were first to every ball. We were aggressive. We created chances. We defended well. It was so good, and it's like, right, that is the standard. And then Blackpool, my God, it was a new low. I mean, I didn't think it could get worse than Hull and Fleetwood.
Hard now to feel as positive about the Watford game because you know what followed. You thought the team would have some confidence for the running now, but that's just been absolutely obliterated, shipping 6 goals. You wonder what that's going to have done to them now, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, Watford now looks like a freak result, doesn't it? Because last night was pretty similar performance-wise to what we've seen the last few months. You know, very passive, can't defend a set piece, nothing going forward really. And it was, like I say, complete opposite to Saturday. I don't know where Saturday come from. If we're ever going to see that again, it was incredible. I mean, like everyone was on such a high leaving the ground, but to see that last night, I've seen a few excuses for them that maybe they were a bit tired because they put so much into Saturday, but we were 1 down in 40 seconds, so you can't blame tiredness for that, can you? You were 3 down in 15 minutes. It's it's not good enough. They've set their standard to what they need to do, which they showed last Saturday. And if they drop anything below that, they're going to get beat. And if they drop as far below as they did last night, they're going to get beat heavily every time.
Yeah, I mean, you said it there, but the intensity, the effort, the desire we had against Watford, you literally couldn't believe it was the same 11 players because he didn't
Mm.
change anything. It's the same players that did that job on Saturday, and it was night and day. My only thought was maybe they thought they were safe mentally. They thought they beat Watford, and people on our forum were saying feels like we've probably done enough now. Maybe they had that same mindset because they were asleep from the start, weren't they? And also QPR, this team just cannot deal with adversity, can it? 1-0 down early on, and we never ever seem to come back in games anymore. If we concede the first goal, it feels like we're done. So when that happens early, it's just catastrophic, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, like it was straight from the kickoff. The penalty was harsh, but but you get that in a game. You might get a dodgy penalty go against you, and you go 1-0 down. Just get on with it. Just you've got 90 minutes to come back. But I said Blackpool were not a great side. We were awful last night. We've scored one, probably could have scored 3. Martin missed a good chance. Anyone fancy blocking that rather than all waving for a free kick? And that it's unreal. And us defending from a corner is frightening, isn't it? I mean, I lost count of how many they conceded from a corner last night. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, you're right on that Dieng one. As soon as he moves past the defenders, surely 2 or 3, 4 of them have got to go behind him and cover, and everyone was just
Yeah.
seemed to be standing still watching him. And I genuinely thought at one point we were going to lose 8-9-0 or something because it felt like every time they were coming forward, they were going to score. Some ways, 6-1, we got away a bit light with that result. It was so bad. And we literally joked last week, funnily enough, that we said Blackpool only scored 6 goals this year. And you said they're probably going to do that in one game. And QPR never ceased to amaze. Of course they did. I suppose the only positive across the 2 games is at least the long run without a win is over. That monkey's off the backs. And hopefully now we can maybe move on again. Is Birmingham at home this weekend? Perhaps not one for the neutrals at 18th taking on 19th, but I thought Birmingham were actually pretty good when they beat us early in the season. They were lively. John Eustace looked to have them punching above their weight, didn't he? But they've struggled since, and of course, with us both sitting on 42 points, we have to say that if we're in trouble, they're in trouble.
Yeah, I think it's another 6-pointer. You know, it feels like if we can win this, it kind of overshadows the Blackpool one. And then you are almost there for safety, and you bring Birmingham back into it. But Birmingham, like I said, they're a funny side. I thought they were really good against us earlier in the season. I thought they were doing okay, and then you look recently, they've really flopped down. And there's talks of them getting a points deduction and a few other clubs as well. They could be banging trouble. I think they lost last night, didn't they, as well?
Yeah,
Um,
three.
you know, it's it's all on us really. If we perform like we did last Saturday against Watford, we've got a good chance of getting a result. Anything less than that, like I said, we're in trouble.
Yeah, I think Birmingham, they just struggle with injuries. They've got like a tight squad, haven't they? They've usually got embargoes on, they can't add to it. And when you think what goes off the pitch there's always seems to be some story of deductions and stuff. It can't be easy
Yeah.
for the players to put that to one side, especially over and over again. It seems to happen to them every season, doesn't it? For QPR, I mean, again, I don't know how we analyse what's going to happen with the team this weekend because anything positive we were going to say is just going out the window. And you can see it's a shame, really, because we could have been talking so much about that Watford match, and instead the focus is on Blackpool. And you have to feel that the players and the squad are going to be thinking about that as well. You think of Rob Dickie as the prime example. I felt on against Watford, he was like back to 2021 Rob Dickie, wasn't he? He was in every tackle, he was first, he was reading the game, playing out from the back. And then you get the ridiculous performance against Blackpool. We've got the worst equal defence in the league now. After keeping our first clean sheet of the year, we concede 6. How do you account for what goes on with the team?
I just don't know. I mean, like I agree with you. I thought Dickie was a lot better. He had a bit of a ropey start against Watford, but he grew into the game and he looked like his old self. He was bringing the ball out. He was defensively, he was good, and you thought maybe he's turning the corner here. And then there was last night, and you're like, oh my god, he's even worse than he was before. I mean, I heard some of the defending people were saying it was like Sunday League. I don't even. I think it's an insult to Sunday League teams. He reminded me last night of when my son started playing football in like under sevens level when he was 6. And when balls would come in the air, him and all the other kids would be terrified. It might hit him in the face, and you'd be like getting out of the way like a hand grenade flying at him. That's how we defended corners last night. Every ball in the box was like, oh my god, here it comes, and then they had 3 headers in. But these are not 6-year-old kids; they're professional footballers. How you can defend like that, it's beyond me.
Yeah, and if Birmingham have watched the tape of our match, which I'm sure they will have done, they'll be
Yeah,
just saying Djukovic, get the balls into him as early
just
as you
get it
can.
in. Yeah,
Yeah. I just find it frustrating both with the team and the individuals because we were banging on earlier in the season when we actually had hopes of doing something. That the league was going to be poor this season and we only needed to be moderately consistent to keep in touch. But now there is just zero consistency anywhere in the team, whether it's the team as a whole, individual players. You just don't know what you're going to get from match to match. Ainsworth must be tearing his hair out already as much as we do.
yeah. I mean, I bet he couldn't believe that last night. I mean, he must have gone same as all of us on such a high after Saturday, and the way they played, it's like right, same intensity again. You're not gonna lose that game if you play as you did against Watford. We would have got at least a draw at the game. I think we'd have won it, but I mean, it was just atrocious, wasn't it? And like you said, 6 flattered us. Even the last second of the game, they had a corner and they should have scored another 3 header from a corner. It's like, come on, show a bit of something about you. Once they got to 3, it's like, okay, we've probably lost the game now at 3. Don't get hammered here. Let's just get ourselves in the game. Be tight. Don't let them score again. Win the second half. But no, I mean we even when we got back to 4-1, we threw another one in straight away, didn't we? After half time, it
Yeah,
was
killed it.
ridiculous, isn't it?
He obviously this week switched formation against Watford and then he's kept with it against Blackpool to go with the 3 at the back and the wing backs. Do you think, given that result now, is he going to stick with that or is he going to revert to 4? How do you think that could pan out?
Play a back 10. Can we put any more back there? No, I do think a back 3 suits us best. What Blackpool did very well last night was they pushed our the wing backs back. So Drew and Kakai just didn't get past the halfway line all night. Whereas on Saturday they were always on the front foot, and it did help us. So that's something they kind of need to rectify and make sure they don't get pushed back into a 5. But I mean, they're so bad. The centre halves are so bad. I don't know how bad the reserves must be if they can't get in at the minute. I would say he'll stick with a 3, probably make a few personnel changes, but system-wise, I think it'll be the same.
Yeah, I think someone made a good point in the form that we could do is 2 Sam Fields. The only problem with dropping him into defence is that you
Yeah,
still need him in midfield, don't you? Otherwise,
yeah,
people just don't get through us too easy. You mentioned Aaron Drew there. I felt a bit sorry for him last night because he was so good against Watford. He maybe seemed a bit overwhelmed against Blackpool. He didn't get in the game at all, and then he got moved. And what have you made of him so far, though?
yeah. I thought he was all right at Rotherham. I thought he was excellent against Watford, and he was same as the rest. He was really poor last night. So you don't kind of know where he is, which one of them is the consistent one. He, I suppose they've got, and if the others aren't coming back, you don't know how long Powell and Laird are out for. They've got to stick with him. Hopefully, he can become like similar to Kakai, being like a decent backup player that they've got there that they can use. But it's hard to tell, and the performances are so extreme at the minute. You just don't know what to make of anyone.
Yeah, that is, as we keep saying it, but it is the problem, isn't it? A word on Lyndon Dykes too. He deserves a mention this week because obviously he didn't have the same impact against Blackpool, but he does deserve huge credit, doesn't he? Putting his hand up to play, he's pushing himself to the max to try and help the club. He was a huge factor in us getting those points against Watford. For me, he puts to shame some of the players who've been out for months with calf strains and tightness and all this stuff we hear about. It just shows the difference players' mentalities, doesn't it?
Yeah, I thought he was the only positive you could get last night. He didn't have a good game by any stretch of the imagination, but he worked hard. And as you say, coming back from that, he was in hospital a couple of weeks ago on a ventilator, and now he's playing football again for us. It's incredible, It's a big boost for us, Hopefully, you can get him, after the national break, he'll be able to have a few more weeks, get himself fully fit. But he's done really well the 2 games, I think.
Yeah, he has. He has. He was the one I noticed when the goals were going as well. He was trying to say to the other players, like, just come on, just forget about it. You could see him gesturing. Speaking of injuries, there's been hints that Chair and Powell could be back for Birmingham, but obviously you just said there with the 2-week gap, do you expect he's just going to give them the extra time so that they're really ready for the run-in, or is it a case now of needs must for this game, do you think?
I think it's needs must. I think if they'd have got a point against Blackpool, he'd have probably said, right, let's wait until Wigan, go with the same again. But you need a reaction now, and I think he's gonna want his strongest team available. Like, so you got a 2-week break. I would expect Chair to be back. I'm not sure what was wrong with Powell anyway, if he'll be back or not. I would have thought Johansson will come back in and start. Surprised he didn't start last night, to be honest. But yeah, I think, you're going to see a few changes. The trouble is where the big problems were last night at centre half. Who else is there? You already had to put Field in there. You got to assume Dickey and Dunn are both going to play again.
Yeah, I think Clark Salter, they've said is potentially out until whether he's been back this season. You just don't know because they say someone's out for a few weeks, they're out for months, aren't they? I think that's something the club need to stop as well. I think they just need to be straight because it starts all the hearsay and people start criticising players for being out. When if the club just said he's out for 2 months, people would stop going on. Otherwise, we're doing it. We're saying, "Why? What's up with him? What's up with him?" Something they need to reconsider. But final prediction time: are we going to see the Watford QPR or the Blackpool QPR?
I really hope we see the Watford QPR because I so enjoyed it last Saturday. It was so good last Saturday. I can't believe how down I am again just a couple of days later. Hopefully we will. If, like I say, if we do perform like that sort of effort, I think we'll win the game. But I don't know what QPR is going to turn up. I don't think any of us do.
No, I think it could be somewhere in the middle and maybe be a draw. But the fact that we do have that within us, that effort, that intensity, you got to have the hope that we can at least do that once or twice more of the remaining games and get over the line. That's it for this week. Thank goodness we now have a 2-week break from the utter madness that is following QPR. We'll be back in a fortnight to preview the trip to Wigan, which could be another potentially huge match. Join us for that. Thank you as always for watching. Have a good break and come on, you R's.
We know who we are. You know who we are. We are QPR.